Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar on LexisNexis TotalPatent Semantic Search. I'm Allie Morton, and I would like to introduce today's presenter, Richard Garner, who is the Product Director responsible for all IP research tools at LexisNexis. A few housekeeping things before we get started. All lines have been muted. At the end of the presentation, we will open it up for questions, but if you would like to submit a question during the conference, please feel free to use the chat feature and send the question to myself, Allie Morton. Thank you again, everyone, for attending. And with that, I will turn it over to Richard.
Thank you, Allie. We are going to record this session, and the recording will be available later on. So, good morning, everybody. As Allie Morton says, my name is Richard Garner. I'm calling in from LexisNexis in London, where I am the Product Director responsible for the IP research tools. For the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to introduce you to semantic search on LexisNexis TotalPatent. The agenda for today is firstly, a brief introduction to the application itself so that we can see TotalPatent in context. We'll talk about the concepts behind semantic search and why Lexis introduced it. We'll talk about how it works, how the tool has evolved and continues to evolve. And then, as part of a live demonstration, we'll also talk about the benefits to patent searchers. For those people that are able to stay through to the end of this webinar, we will be talking about a promotion that is coming up later in the year where we expect to add the 100th million patent document to TotalPatent, and there's a competition associated with that. So, patent has been around now for years, so launched in 2007. It's an award-winning patent research and retrieval tool with analytics and alerting and work folders all built into the application. One primary difference is around the coverage. TotalPatent today contains 100 patenting authorities, and of those 100 authorities, almost one-third, 32 full-text collections, are available to search. Importantly, all of those 32 full-text collections are available to search in English, either because the documents have been published in English, or because we have used our own proprietary machine translation software to translate the full text into English. It means you can search Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Spanish, French, German, and so on collections using English language search terms. The tool is used around the world by some of the largest research corporations, by law firms, by governments around the world, as well as by universities and other organizations. So far as semantic search is concerned, TotalPatent introduced semantic searching just a couple of years after we launched in 2009. We developed the technology in partnership with Pure Discovery, a Texas-based technology company that now actually trades under the name brainspace.com. Pure Discovery is one of the pioneers in space of latent semantic analysis. And indeed, prior to them working with LexisNexis, they already had something of a history in the area of semantic search and patents. But we were able to benefit from that experience and develop the tool that I'm going to be talking about today. Now, crucially, when it comes to semantic search, it's important that you train the technology with a corpus of literature. And having the world's largest collection of patent documents, we were able to train the semantic brains, as we call them, with over 15 million full-text patents from the United States Patent Office and from the European Patent Office. We've used the collections from 1976 through current for granted patents and applications, and for the European Patent Office from 1978 and 1980 through current. In case you aren't aware, LexisNexis is a sister company of Elsevier, so we were also able to leverage the Elsevier full-text science, technical, and medical non-patent literature titles as part of that brain training exercise. Well, why did LexisNexis introduce semantic search into TotalPatent? One of the things that we're very conscious of in patent information is that the nomenclature across the technologies varies. Moreover, applicants can act, as I say here, as their own lexicographers. They can, in partnership with their attorneys, create entirely new terms in drafting patent applications. And indeed, as we know, the language itself changes over time. Technical abbreviations are very common in patent information. In terms of some of the examples that I'm just showing you here, Australia and gold can all use exactly the same abbreviations. Similarly, amongst technical abbreviations, there are common noise words. So helium and beryllium I've just listed here could commonly be thought of as noise words, as stop words, and therefore be excluded from your patent research. Chemical compound expressions are often misspelled or used differently. Indeed, all of these things lead to thousands of certificates of correction being published every year. So why has semantic search been introduced in the way that it has been introduced? Well, one of the things that we became very aware of as part of our research is a certain resistance to semantic search because of its history. First of all, TotalPatent was not the first patent research tool to offer semantic search. But we wanted to really learn from what had been done in the past, and we noticed that a common approach was what we called the black box. And this involved a complete lack of transparency, so that the user was not able to interact with or see the terms that the semantic search engine is applying to the search. They also had no way of influencing the weighting or the disposition of those terms. Plus, semantic search, as I say in bullet 3 here, requires a semantic index. And the technology at the time just did not scale. So as a result, many skeptics felt that semantic searching was simply not a practical alternative to traditional Boolean search methodology. So we have tried to address all of the challenges, transparency, control of scale, and scale in our application. Let me talk about how the process works in TotalPatent before going on to show you the tool live. So in the first instance, the user will build a query. The queries can consist of individual words. We suggest that you put at least 3 words in there. You can create a sentence. You can enter a paragraph. Indeed, you can enter an entire document within the limits of the search interface. The appropriate brain is then selected, and as you can see here, we've got almost 20 semantic brains built into TotalPatent that parse the various technologies. And then from those brains, the intelligence is developed, and the relevant terms are then surfaced as a query cloud in the interface. Now, within this, the user can then add their own terms. They can add restrictions such as priority of publication or application dates. They can add assignee names or classes should they want to add additional information to their semantic search. And once that is then done, the semantic search is converted into a weighted Boolean search, which is then run against the collections that the user has chosen, and the results are then delivered in a relevant ranked order. Let us move to TotalPatent, and I will illustrate for you the things that we have just been talking about. For those unfamiliar with TotalPatent, this is the login. So you can see that the user has numerous search options in TotalPatent, including a standard Boolean search, the advanced search form. And we could look for, in fact, exactly the same search as I'm going to use in semantic search. Let's look for the term mechanical heart valve. I can just capture it here. In the advanced search form, the user can decide which part of the search they want to run it against. It includes the full text, the title, abstract, or claim, the title of the abstract. You can see that there are many options. The user can also decide which collections they want to run it against, whether or not they want to include any restrictions. But we're just going to run it as is, looking for the term mechanical heart valve, in this particular case, as a phrase, run against the full text, just of the top 10 publishing authorities. And once we have the results list up, I will be able to show you how many results we have generated. So in this particular case, using a Boolean search, looking for the term mechanical heart valve, we found 1,803 records. The documents have been returned in strictly publication date order. Excuse me, sort order here, strictly publication date. But we could have changed that to any number of different options. And you can see that the publication number, the publication date, and the English language title is always returned. So in this case, we've got a number of English language documents, such as from the United States, the World Intellectual Property Organization. But we also have numerous overseas collections. So here we've got documents published from Japan, from China. There are Korean documents as well. Now, these are all in the field of mechanical heart valves, but it is not necessarily clear simply from the title that these documents deal with that particular technology. Let me then show you how to contrast that with running the same search, but this time we'll run it using semantic search. So I'm going to take us to the semantic search tab. And once again, you can choose which part of the document that you want to run it in. In that respect, the options are identical to those available in Boolean search. But in order that we can do a like-for-like search, I'm also going to run it against the full text. That will include the bibliographic data. We're going to run it against the major 10 publishing authorities. We are not going to add any date or other restrictions. You'll notice on the interface that we have two options. One is to run, is just to search now, to go straight to the results list. If you want to think of that as a little like Google's I'm feeling lucky, then please do. But actually, the application is best served when you use the preview results. So what you can see is my search terms, mechanical heart valve are listed here, and we have run this search against the semantic search brains, and you can see how a query cloud has been generated. Now, amongst the changes that we have made to semantic search over the years is one, to allow the query to contain multiple concepts. I mean, very often in patent information, you're dealing with multiple concepts. But another change that we've made fairly recently is to give the user even more control over the way that they interact with the application. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So the brains have returned a word cloud. It contains about 50 terms, and the most relevant top 20 have been automatically populated into these three boxes that you see here. The other terms, the other 30 terms that are relevant, but are stored in a reserve area, can equally be promoted into the main search box. In this particular instance, we generated 1,724 hits, compared with, I think, the 1,800 hits that we ran as a phrased Boolean search. On the right-hand side, you will also notice how there is a preview of just the top 20 hits, showing the publication number, the publication date, once again, English language titles, the abstract, and an image. Where the abstract contains more information than can be shown, then you can just increase by clicking on the more or less to show additional information. The purpose of the preview is in order that the user can have an understanding of, as they make changes to the query cloud, how are those changes then being affected by the application. So am I getting closer to or further away from where I would expect to be? Now, given that we only entered the term mechanical heart valve, you can see that the brains have returned a number of related concepts, which it is clear to see are relevant here. So as well as mechanical heart valve prostheses, we've got things like mitral positionings, we've got bileaflets, we've got carbomedics. And then down here in the reserve terms, we've got things like trileaflets and aortic positions. So any of these terms, if they are felt to be more relevant than the terms that have been generated automatically by the system, can be promoted into the query cloud boxes. And so I mentioned some of the changes that have been introduced. One is that there is no longer a need for the users to have enforced terms. So previously, we insisted that the top boxes were required terms and they had to be populated. Plus, the user did not have the same control over connectors such as and or. And so in this latest version, we've now introduced those options. Just down here, beneath all of these terms and any of these terms, we've got none of these terms. So it may well be that the user specifically does not want to see certain terms returned in their results list. So let us, first of all, just have a look at how these results compare with the previous Boolean search. So now I've clicked on the Retrieve All Results. And if I hover over here, you can see that this is the query that has been generated by semantic search. So the first thing to notice is how many more results, just the title here has been highlighted. And I mentioned that a standard Boolean search is going to generate a results list that is sorted by publication date. In this case, they are sorted by relevance. So we're using LexisNexis relevance ranked algorithm to generate the results list. But just as before, the user can decide if they want to change the sort order into any of these other options. Now, to add additional information, let us say that we want also to see the abstract. And here you can see how the terms are being generated. And it is not just the original terms that we input, mechanical heart valve. We can now see mechanical heart valve prostheses. We can see suture rings. We can see essentially all of the terms being highlighted in the results list that were surfaced by the surfaced by the semantic brains. Now we can edit this search. We can do a narrow search within the results list. We can use semantic concepts. We can introduce new semantic concepts to edit this query, or indeed, we can just click Edit Query. We can go back to our semantic search, and we can make changes here. So in this particular case, perhaps we also want to see the term by leaflet, or indeed by leaflet with a hyphen. And I mentioned how making changes to the search, the query cloud, you can then see how those changes are going to impact your results. So in this particular instance, I want to see the term mechanical heart valve, but I also wanted to see by leaflet or by leaflet without the hyphen, and immediately my results have been reduced to 370 hits. Any of these terms, any of these terms box here, this will adjust the weighting and ranking. It is not going to have the impact on your results list that moving terms into the Boolean and or the Boolean or query boxes are. You'll notice how the query cloud are in different font sizes, and they're also in different colors. So this represents the ranking that the semantic search brains have automatically applied to these terms. But these can be adjusted. So, for example, if we wanted to move a suture ring, we wanted to promote its relevance from a low maybe to a medium or a high, we can do that, but it's only going to impact the positioning of those results. It's not going to generate more or less results. So you can see that even though I have moved that term up, I've promoted it to a medium weight over a low weight, we are still left with 370 hits. So you can have a maximum of 20 terms. Now, it may be that we've got the term mechanical heart valve. We don't see the need to use the term heart valve as well. But instead, perhaps we'd prefer to see something like tri-leaflet. So we want to bring up the term tri-leaflet, maybe promote it into a medium-weighted term. And so we've now introduced, yet another term into our results. And as before, I can click on Retrieve All Results, and then I can look at what sort of impact have the changes that I have made introduced. So once again, I've got my relevance ranked sort order. I've turned the abstract on. I can also turn on an image, which will help you decide how relevant those terms are. And I want to show you another tool that we have built into the application, at least to introduce it. And so with analytics, there is the means of generating a Venn diagram, which will allow you to see and to compare the results generated from your Boolean search with those generated by your semantic search. In so doing, you can look to see where you've got outliers, where you've got overlap, and you can use that information perhaps to help you construct a more a tighter Boolean search, or perhaps use it to expand your semantic search. Okay, so where are we going to be taking semantic search in TotalPatent? First of all, we very much see the technology as the way ahead. When you're dealing with 100 million records, the likelihood of knowing all of the terms that are used in the patent documents is rare. And while Boolean search is a highly precise means of searching, it can only bring back documents that you ask it for. If you don't know all of the terms that have been used by applicants, then you run the risk of overlooking certain documents. So we will be building upon semantic search going forward. We will continue to upgrade the brains by using the latest publications from the US and the European Patent Office. Because we have something like 70 million full-text documents published in English, then we may build the brains out still further using publications from authorities other than the US and the European Patent Office. We might also allow the user to include patent classification systems, so that if they want to use a combination of semantic search together with classes to try and uncover documents that might previously been concealed, then that too will become available. So this is technology that we feel that we are leading the industry in, and we will continue to be investing in it. Okay, Ali, I thought I would pause at this point to maybe see whether we've had any questions come over on chat.
Perfect. We have had a few, and anybody else who has any questions, feel free to go ahead and submit them via chat to Ali Morton. One of the first questions that came in is, can you use semantic search to search for non-patent literature?
Okay. Well, TotalPatent does contain references to non-patent literature. So in filing the patent application, applicants very often cite journal articles, conference proceedings, and abstracts as part of their prior art. TotalPatent itself does not contain full-text literature, but when we developed semantic search, we also included the tool on Lexis.com. And Lexis.com allows users to search the entire full-text collections from Elsevier, and semantic search may be applied on Lexis.com against non-patent literature. The experience is somewhat different from that I have described today in TotalPatent, but yes, it is possible to run a semantic search against non-patent literature in Lexis.
Okay, thank you. Another question that came in, is there a limit on the number of terms that can be used in a semantic search?
There is a limit, but let me show you exactly how that might work. I think I've got another example here. This case is taken from an abstract. So you don't just have, you're not restricted from searching just for a few words here or there. In this particular case, I'm copying and pasting terms from that I've selected from an abstract to generate a new word cloud. We have a limit of 32,000 characters. So certainly that would be more than enough to generate a word cloud based upon an abstract, based upon a description, based upon the claims, or in some cases the entire full text. So using this particular example, I would want to, I'm sure, promote mechanical heart valve prosthesis up into the main cloud, and then I can make it other adjustments down here. But the limit is 32,000, Ali. That's a technical limit, a system limit that's been imposed, but it should certainly allow a user to enter an abstract, as I say, claims or a series of claims.
Great, thank you. Another question that came in when you were giving your example here for the semantic search, isn't it dangerous to leave out terms? I would worry that I will miss things that are mentioned to describe what an application does not cover.
Well, actually, I think that question perfectly illustrates the point that I was making earlier, that Boolean search is highly precise. But unless the user has entered all of the possible synonyms and alternatives and variations of a term, then certainly they are relying upon the relevance ranking of the application to bring back all of their results. If they don't know all of those terms, then they run the risk of overlooking terms. Now, in TotalPatent, you're not just restricted to the terms that are generated by the search engine. We can add some terms here ourselves. You can just add this manually. Now, providing you keep within the maximum 20 terms, then you can add some additional terms here yourself. Does that address the question?
I believe so, and if it doesn't, please feel free to follow up with an additional question to me in the chat.
So actually, that's a very good question. As I say, perhaps I'd given the impression that whilst the user has control over the terms, they only have control over the 50 terms that are generated by the brains. That is not the case. They can choose to reject all of those terms and enter them themselves.
Okay. And then another follow-up question, when you were giving the example and referring to Lexis.com, is that information and data also available in Lexis Advanced for people who have switched over from Lexis.com to Lexis Advanced?
I'm afraid that's a question I'm going to struggle with because not being on the Lexis Advanced team, I don't know exactly what the plans are to include Elsevier literature there, but it's certainly part of Lexis.com. It's on prior art. We'd need to answer that question offline, if you don't mind, just so we can understand what plans Lexis has to include the non-patent literature in Lexis Advanced down the road.
Okay. Another question that came in is, can a company set up a private cloud to index and search its internal documents, like ideas and applications?
So you can certainly use data that you've gathered internally to enter as search terms in TotalPatent. The technology itself is available, but I'm not sure how the application as it is will work with the example that's just been given. So this is working very much from as a server application rather than via the API.
Okay. Another question, is there any way to specify proximity of search terms to each other?
To specify the proximity, so the proximity is handled automatically by the weighting. So that's why I was showing you how you can adjust the positioning here. That deals with the positioning with relevance in the results page. But if I take us to, excuse me, if I take us to the results page, then I can show you how you can also adjust using proximity terms, or proximity operators, I should say. So narrow search. We could perhaps say that we wanted to look at blood flow. So we might say blood within 5 of flow. Oh, if I spell blood properly. So we could say that we wanted to see only documents that contained terms within 5 of blood within terms of within proximity 5 of flow. So we can use narrow search to add Boolean operators, whether they are proximity operators or adjacency operators. We can introduce them using narrow search. And this is then run against the records that are returned by Semantic. So you do not use proximity operators or Boolean operators at the semantic search stage, but you can certainly introduce them here as a narrow search. So it's further control again.
Okay, we have lots of questions coming in here.
I had a feeling we might, which is why I wanted to make sure that we left enough time to answer them.
Let me get through here. Are you generating some ontologies as part of the brain?
We are not generating an ontology. That is a very common misperception and is very often the approach that has been taken in the past. Now, this is genuine latent semantic analysis. It's not using ontologies to generate those word clouds. It's very much looking at vectoring. There was a slide that I chose not to go into. I thought it was just a bit too detailed for this presentation. But we're creating vectors. We're then looking at the relationships of those terms to one another. We're looking at the relationship of those terms within the corpus and generating the word cloud on that basis. we're not generating ontologies. We're certainly not generating synonyms either.
Okay. Another question, is TotalPatent available for daily or weekly, more of a transactional access rather than annual contracts?
So you can get transactional access to TotalPatent, and if we have people on the webinar that are using Lexis and know who their account representative is, they can certainly talk with them about transactional access. Certainly when we built the model, it was very much designed for users who are new to LexisNexis, but also existing users of LexisNexis. So they may not have TotalPatent as part of their subscription packet on Lexis, but they can use it then transactionally.
Okay, great. How have you seen semantic search being adopted by some of your current customers?
Well, that's very interesting. When we first introduced semantic search, I think some of us thought that it was a tool to be used by power searchers, by expert searchers, people who previously made use of Boolean search. But in fact, we've also seen it being adopted by end users. The interface, I think, lends itself very much to end users. It doesn't require an understanding of nested parentheses or logical operators, proximity operators. It doesn't need an understanding of pattern classification systems. And so whilst our original thinking was that it would be an additional aid to the power searcher, in fact, we've seen take-up amongst end users, so novice and occasional searchers, every bit as strongly.
That's great. The last question that I have here, as I said that, another one came in. So I'll address this one and then we'll go to the next. What has been the overall reaction from the market for semantic search? I mentioned that TotalPatent was not the first tool to introduce semantic search, but we built upon applications that we have seen there previously. Whilst we're not the first, we're also now not alone in offering search aids such as semantic search. Many research tools in the market these days have explored this area, some more successfully than others, and I have to say some have adopted semantic to some extent. Many have not. I think many are positioning their semantic tools as semantic-like. In fact, they're semantic-light in many respects. But it's encouraging to see that the industry recognizes that searchers need additional aids, not necessarily alternatives to, but complementary to Boolean searching. And so in that respect, we're glad to see that development. But this is a technology that we embraced very early on and are committed to developing further. And if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and please feel free to submit them via chat to Allie Morton. The last one that we have as of right now is, can you both compare and exclude the results of Boolean search and semantic search to review only those not found via Boolean or via semantic?
Yes, you really can. I don't have a perfect example set up for that, but I mentioned that we have an analytics tool that generates a Venn diagram. That is very much designed to show just those results that have been generated by Boolean and compare those with those that are generated by semantic. You'll be able to see then which documents are in common to Boolean search and to semantic search, and which are exclusive. So it's using this tool here will allow you actually to compare up to 3 results. They can be a semantic search, a Boolean search. You could even use the tool, if you like, if you were to introduce a search result list from another tool. You can enter that into TotalPatent to see how do the results in TotalPatent compare with the results in another tool.
Great. That takes care of all the questions.
Okay. Well, I did mention, Ali, that for those people that were able to stay through the demonstration and presentation, that I just wanted to remind folks that in TotalPatent this year, we will become the first patent research tool that contains over 100 million patent documents. And in connection with that, we wanted to be able to mark the event. We're running a sweepstake, which is open to all users, and the winner who most closely is able to predict the date and time when we load the 100 million record into TotalPatent will receive as a prize a $250 Amazon gift card. I'm going to leave the URL up here on the screen for a moment or two, just so that people can make a note of it. As I say, we will be adding our 100 millionth record to the tool during the course of this year, and we're inviting people to guess the date and time when we'll hit that milestone. And the person who comes closest to it will qualify for a $250 Amazon gift card. We've taken many questions, for which I thank you, and I would also thank you for your attendance today. Any follow-up, I'm going to leave Alison's email address here on the slide, should anybody need to follow up after the webinar finishes. So with that, I will thank you very much, and Ali, I imagine we can close the webinar at this point.
Thank you, everyone, for attending, and thank you for a great presentation, Richard.